guys, it's Danny Bell. I hope you guys are having an awesome day today so far. So for today's video, I actually wanted to talk about something that a lot of you have messaged me and asked me questions about, and that is, what do you do when one day you wake up, you're laying there and you think, am I living my best Animal Crossing life? What is this even about anymore? I think for most of us, honestly, this point comes once we've decorated every square inch of our islands and we've spent a lot of time decorating, putting all the items down just so, and everything is exactly how we wanted, and it feels like such a huge accomplishment. It's one of the most rewarding and exciting parts of the game when you finally get everything just how you want it and you have all your dreamies, all of the villagers you could ever want for your theme on your island, and then you realize there's nothing else to do in this place. You enjoy doing all the daily tasks, but honestly, after a while, you kind of just want to get back in the spirit of decorating and doing something completely different. So it poses the challenge of, what do you do next? How do you get to a point where you decide what kind of new theme to do on your island, and where do you even begin? Because truthfully, I think for a lot of us, it's completely overwhelming. You're faced with so many different options. Do I restart? Do I flatten? Do I do a completely different theme? And do I really even want to get rid of all the villagers that I have so carefully selected and found on my island? So today I wanted to talk about weighing the pros and cons of either restarting your island from the very beginning or just simply flattening an existing island you have. This is a huge decision, I think, for most of us, because as we know, once you delete your island, if you want to do a full restart, it's sort of lost. All of the custom designs, all of the items that you've cataloged, everything is just gone. It's a really, really huge decision to make, especially if you love everything about your island. So yeah, let's get going on talking about this, because I think it's definitely a topic that we've all been there at least once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times for some of us, on how we kind of get to that place of decision making. I think it's pretty safe to say that most of us get super attached to not only our island themes and all of our decorating skills and how we put everything just so, but our villagers. I don't know, something about these cuties. They are digital friends, and I don't know, I have a hard time letting go of them, and that includes deleting an entire island. So one of the things that really helped me in making decisions like this in the past is doing the best I can to preserve all of the memories on my current island before I decide either way what to do. Since I get so attached to all of my villagers and all of the designs and all of the things, I don't want to forget them. So being a nostalgic person that really values memories, I do try to take lots of pictures, any video footage that I can of my island, just so that I do have those memories preserved. Doing that has really helped me in the process of letting go of an island, so that if I'm ready to move on to something new, I don't have to completely forget it. I think living in the digital age actually makes this pretty easy. You can take all of your digital photos and video clips off of your Switch and use a service like either Heirloom or Shutterfly, any of these companies that will put together either a bound paper book for you to have something tangible, a video type of book that you can sort of have them preserve those things for you, I think is a great way to do it. And no, this isn't a shameless plug. I don't have any affiliation with either of those companies. It's just a way that I've personally found that makes it a little bit easier to preserve what you have on your island, have a way to look back on it and reflect, and then I don't feel nearly as sad when I have to delete an island in that situation. Most of the companies, if you're willing to spend maybe $50 or more, depending on how fancy you want to get, is a great way to be able to preserve the memories. And it's still definitely cheaper than buying a brand new Switch to start an island on a separate Switch. If you're on a budget and you just don't want to spend any money on anything like that, it's completely understandable. There's still lots of other ways that you can do this for free. If you have the ability to do this yourself, maybe you're a crafty type of person and you want to create a little photo album or scrapbook about your island, you can totally do that for pretty cheap these days, especially finding different websites that offer free digital scrapbooks. I'll try to link some of these options in the description of the video for you guys if you're looking for something like this to use for your own islands. I think a lot of these types of companies, if you're a new customer or you recently sign up for their emails, anything like that, will tend to give you a heavy discount or even give you the ability to create a free digital item to try out their service for the first time. So that's super helpful. If you don't want to go that route, look for a friend. If you have someone that is in school, a college student maybe that's taking a photography class, or if you even have a friend that just does photography on the side and they're willing to help you out and put something really nice together for you, those are always really great options too. So let's talk a little bit about dream addresses, because I feel like this is probably one of the biggest things when deciding whether you're going to restart or flatten your island. Having a dream address captured of your island, I think, makes a huge difference. One of the things that I really like about restarting an island is if you update your dream address for your island prior to deleting your island, you actually get to keep that dream address. That address still exists with your island, even if you delete it. So that's a definite huge plus, because even if you completely restart, you can always go back and visit that dream address, have a way to actually see your old villagers, see all of your decorating. It's absolutely wonderful. Just be sure not to mess up the time continuum when you run into your other self, your past other self, when you're visiting your island. Okay, just kidding, that's not a thing. But anyways, it is totally weird always seeing yourself again. But deleting your island and completely restarting means that once you start your new journey with your new island, you get a lot of perks from that, actually. Not only do you get a brand new dream address and you're able to preserve the one you previously had on your old island, you get to do all the fun, sweet gameplay that we all miss, I think, at some point in this journey on Animal Crossing. I don't know, I feel like it's really refreshing. It's sort of like a little reset button. It's been a long time for, I think, a lot of us since we've experienced flying over the island for the first time. Just the excitement of experiencing having all of the new things, like a new airport color, finding out what your new native fruit is, and then of course getting 2 new starter villagers, even if we really secretly hate them, is kind of exciting. I mean, it's one of those things that even though we love our dreamies and we always appreciate having all of our best villagers on our island, who can forget all of the entertaining and sometimes awful conversations we've had with some of the starter villagers that we've had from the very beginning of the gameplay. So if you're looking for something to completely shake things up, I do think restarting is super fun. It kind of reminds us, takes us back to our roots of having to go back from the very beginning, pick up sticks, do all of those things. I think it's for sure an adventure that most of us kind of need to have that refreshment and beginning all over again. And who doesn't love all the villager hunts that come in the beginning of the gameplay? Oh my gosh, villager hunts are probably one of my favorite things even now in the game of Animal Crossing. It's so much fun. That super big excitement of seeing who is on the next Nook Mile Ticket Island, I think, is one of the most exciting things in the game. And once you've filled all of your villager slots, I feel like the times that we get to do that are pretty few and in between. And so restarting the game, I think, is really a nice opportunity to completely start over. In particular, if you are doing a completely different theme than what you had before. I know that on my islands, I tended to choose villagers based on the theme. So when we were doing Sugarbelle, which was Farmcore, I was able to pick a lot of villagers that I normally would not have chosen, say if I was doing a multi-theme island and I just picked villagers based on who I wanted out of everybody. So it was kind of nice being able to choose just farm villagers. I took a lot of villagers that were farm dreamies that necessarily wouldn't have been dreamies if I was doing a different type of theme on the island. So that part is really great too. Another plus about completely restarting and deleting your old island is that you get to have a new map. That's really something that I think was great. Having a new island layout means lots of other inspiration for different layout designs, especially depending on what theme you end up ultimately going with on your island. It can be really refreshing to have a different placement for your resident services. And I don't know about you guys, but I can definitely say when I was a noob for Animal Crossing New Horizons, I had no clue when I chose my map for my original island. I had no clue. Like, I had so many regrets later on when I had no idea that you couldn't move resident services. So I chose a map that I was really disappointed in, but at that point I was committed. So it's one of those things that if you are just sort of tired with the layout on your island, or you want resident services to be in a different spot, I think that restarting is really fantastic because you get a different map. You can choose a different layout for your rivers. You can also choose to go a different route. I know the very first time I played through Animal Crossing New Horizons, I was of course all about catching all the bugs, getting all of the fish. I wanted to complete my Critterpedia, upgrade the museum as far as I could and as fast as I could. All of those things that are a part of the game itself in the gameplay, I think I kind of decided the next time around I wanted to do differently. The island I did after that, I didn't upgrade the museum all the way. I ended up just keeping it in a tent form, which was really fun. But honestly, if I hadn't had the experience of being able to upgrade the museum and do all of those things the first time around, I don't know that I would have been very happy just keeping my museum in a tent form, because it sort of stunts that part of the game for you. And of course, once you upgrade that museum, there's no going back. It's a one-way street, people. You can't redo it. So restarting affords you that option too, to do something a little bit differently on your island, which is fantastic. So we've talked about some of the positive things about restarting. Let's talk a little bit about some of the negative things. So obviously one of the worst things about restarting is you lose all of your progress. You lose every recipe you've learned. You lose every item and every color that you've cataloged, which is a major major inconvenience. And really, who has the time to go back and redo all of that stuff? I can think probably hours of my life were spent collecting all the DIY recipes, visiting the villagers at various points in time during the day just to see if I could get the maximized amount of DIY recipes to finish my collection. Just looking for all of the items. I can remember date hopping and just trying to catalog as many items as I could in the beginning, day to day going to Nook's Cranny and trying to see what they had for sale and hoping it would be an item that I really wanted to use. I know that a lot of people, myself included, have used treasure islands in an effort to try to more quickly catalog items. I think that's a great option if you're into that. I know some people aren't, and I totally respect that. If you're more of an organic, purist type of player for Animal Crossing, you have my totes respect. It's just one of those things that if you are going to be restarting your island, it really makes it a lot more difficult, and it's hard to have to not get overwhelmed in a situation when you consider having to recatalog all of those things for yourself. I mean, how many different types of toilets are there in this game? I swear, I could spend hours just recataloging every single freaking type of toilet there is in this game. I can tell you for sure that I have cataloged pretty quickly all of the different color varieties of full body tights because that seems to be the only gift that the villagers give me when they want my most priceless item that I have in my pockets. So there's that. That being said, if you're a person who chooses to play organically, then you're definitely setting yourself up for the long haul if you choose to restart your island. So it might be best for you in that situation to just simply flatten and continue on doing a different theme that way. If you are open to visiting different treasure islands and things like that, or joining some sort of Animal Crossing community that is super supportive, there's so many wonderful people in the Animal Crossing community who are more than willing to help anyone that's either new to the Animal Crossing journey or is completely restarting. It's fantastic. Alright, so island name. You get a brand new island name that you can choose. If you restart your island from the very beginning, you get to pick a new island name, and since this is something that we cannot change later on in the game, I think this can be a pretty big deciding factor. In particular, even though those little raccoons warned us, they warned us at the beginning of the game that we can't change this, but how many of us really paid attention to that? And there's probably, I'm willing to bet, quite a few regrets out there for what people might have chosen for their island names, and so this is a great way to get a fresh start. And in particular, if you did a theme on your island and chose an island name based on the theme that you knew you were doing, it can be really great to have a second chance to either choose something that's going to be more fitting for the next island theme or pick something that's neutral. That way it sort of transcends. So if you do choose to flatten later, it's something that is still going to work really well for a different theme later on. So speaking of all the items in Animal Crossing, I think that for a lot of us, now that we have gone through the 2.0, the huge, massive 2.0 launch for Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think this can actually be a game changer for us, honestly, because I think that in the past, when we had what we had before, it was a lot easier to consider just simply restarting because there were not nearly as many items to have to recatalog, not nearly as many recipes to have to relearn. So considering the huge volume of things that you have to either recatalog or relearn, I think is going to be a big decider for people when in the past they might have normally just reset their island or restarted. I think this might be a time when you see a lot of people choosing to level their island and redo things that way versus a complete restart and deleting their island. So yeah, bells and mortgages are a huge factor when deciding that as well, because when you totally restart, you lose all that progress too. You are literally going to be penniless when you start out again. You also have to consider that you're going to be starting out all of the mortgage process again, taking out a bajillion bells and loans from Tom Nook, and that's definitely one of those things that if you enjoy the gameplay, it can be really fun, but it's a huge responsibility and undertaking, and very time consuming for that matter, to go back to that place. So another thing to consider for sure when you're trying to decide if you want to restart versus just leveling, you get to keep all of your bells, you get to have all of your mortgages paid off if that's where you're at in the game. And finally, let's talk a little bit about Happy Home Paradise, because again, I think this is a huge deciding factor for people. Happy Home Paradise, being that it's a DLC that is linked to our actual island, is one of those things that if you completely delete your island for a total restart, you lose all of your Happy Home Paradise progress. Now, it doesn't mean that you lose access to the DLC itself. Obviously, if you've purchased the DLC or you have a Nintendo Online Family Plan, you still have access to the game itself. It's not like you have to repurchase it, but the problem is that it's almost like all of your friends from Happy Home Paradise Lottie, Nico, Wardell, it's like they don't even know you. I'm talking one of those flashy machines from Men in Black. Like, they have no clue who you are. It's really kind of sad. And with all of the progress that you need to be able to do 30 builds on the DLC in an effort to unlock the ability to redecorate your village or homes on your main island, you really need to consider, do you really want to go through that again? It's totally up to you. It's a personal choice. And I think that either way, it ultimately boils down to, what do you love the most about Animal Crossing New Horizons? Let me know in the comments, guys. What is it that you enjoy most personally about the game? If you really listen to your heart and think truthfully about what it is you're seeking, what it is that you are thirsty for in the game of Animal Crossing, that will kind of help lead your heart in the direction of whether to restart or to flatten your island. If you're really just craving those wide open spaces to build on and sort of redo certain areas of your island, you might want to consider just doing a multi-themed island. This is great because you don't really have to do either a restart or a flatten. The very first time I played through Animal Crossing New Horizons from launch, I did a multi-theme island, and it was really great because it seemed like different areas of the island were always readily available to redo, whether seasonally or if there were holiday type of builds I wanted to revamp and redo. Doing it that way offers you a chance to be able to use your creativity, try out new items, and do different builds in areas of the island where you're not completely overwhelmed with having to completely overhaul and redo an entire island with a whole new theme. So a multi-theme island is a great way to go if you're considering trying to have spaces that you can ultimately have to sort of overhaul and redecorate over the course of the year. And that brings us to the next thing, which are Nook Miles. These are something that you can't get from a treasure island. You can really only get the Nook Miles that you accumulate by playing the game. And now that we have things like elements like Captain in the game, where we are actually using a lot of our Nook Miles to go visit all of the other mystery islands to be able to get more gyroid fragments and potentially get all kinds of other out-of-season bugs and fish and things like that, Nook Miles actually have a lot more prevalent role and importance than I think they used to previously in the game. I think that now that we have a bigger purpose on what we can use for the Nook Miles in the game, restarting completely from the beginning of your island means you're going to lose all of that Nook Mile bank that you've accumulated, any of the experience things for the punch cards, for the Nook Miles Plus that you might have gotten from doing all the different tasks from the very beginning. All of those things go away. So that's yet another thing to consider if you are considering leveling and flattening your island versus doing a complete restart. I think that can be huge too. And lastly, before we wrap up the video, another thing to consider is if you're just simply looking for space to decorate on your island to keep things fresh, consider having a 9x9 square area on your island that you know is just reserved for brainstorming different creative ideas, trying out new items, all of those sorts of things. I totally love the new trend that's been going around in the Animal Crossing community of all of the 9x9 and 3x3 build challenges. It's just a nice way to keep things fresh in the game if you really don't want to commit either way to leveling your island or completely restarting. So I guess my personal opinion is, if you are looking mostly just to enjoy all of the design process of Animal Crossing, if that's your focus of creating new spaces and designs, things of that nature, then probably leveling is a good option for you so that you don't have to go through all of that again. But if you enjoy the gameplay, you like the newness and the freshness of restarting the game itself and the storyline, then resetting your island and going from the very, very beginning is always a fun journey. Okay guys, well I think that's about all for today. I hope this video was helpful to you if you were looking for a little bit of direction on trying to choose between completely deleting and restarting your island or flattening and leveling. Whichever direction you choose to go in, just remember that this game is meant to be fun. If you find yourself getting stressed out and overwhelmed, just take a deep breath and remember that there's no wrong answer either way. If you enjoy this type of content and you find it helpful, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I always love to hear from you guys. You can find me on Instagram at Peppy Crossing Play. Feel free to message me with any questions or ideas for new videos. I'm really excited because we do have a couple more subscriber island tours coming up here, one this weekend and one next week. So I'm really excited to share those with you for more inspo. We also are going to be visiting our new island theme, and I'm really excited to sort of go over what we're going to be doing with that. So be on the lookout for that as well. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Wishing you all an amazing day. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.